Okay, Althea, welcome, man, to Strange Mysterious World. Uh, I've listened to one of your. I've never heard of light language. I'll be honest. We do a lot of podcasts. We've done things from remote viewing to just palmistry, whatever it is. We've done a lot, but I've never heard of light viewing or light language. William said he's heard a couple of your things. So explain first of all your story, how you got to where you are, and what light language is.
Okay, awesome. So first of all, thank you so much for having me. It's really amazing to be here. So for me, I mean, I come from a very psychic childhood. I was one of those children that would see shadows and have prophetic dreams that would come true. So my channel's always been pretty open. I come from a lineage of witches as well. The women in my family all have psychic vision and intuition. My mother, my grandmother, they never took it up for a living like I did, but it is kind of something that, growing up, I then eventually learned runs in the family. And with the light language, so for me, the way I understand it is the new technology that's coming in to assist the healing of the planet. If you kind of like understand a little bit how Reiki works and energy healing, light language would be the next step. It works beyond the constraints of space and time, so it will operate from fifth dimensional density, which means that the codes that come through, whether they are spoken, sung, written, expressed in different ways, work directly on the energy field, on the DNA structure, on the system, and they bypass the conscious mind. So you don't need to be understanding to have the light language integrate and operate in your system. Furthermore, they can be actually programmed. So I can program light language to go on someone's system and they integrate the next day, or they could have integrated the day before. They work a lot. The phonetics of the language as it comes out, the way I see it visually is like sacred geometry, and I see the geometry itself embed within the structures of the system, within the grid of the planet, within the DNA. It kind of like goes in at light, and then it lights up different centers of the energy field of the meridians, and then gets integrated and assists in raising the baseline vibrational frequency of the individual and of the planet or whatever it gets sent to.
Okay, so hold on a second. So there was quite a bit. All right, let's break it down a little bit. So William, I know you did Reiki, so you kind of understand a little bit more of what's Arthur was talking about Reiki in the next step. So you saying you actually see when you're talking to someone or one of your clients that you actually see because I know we all have our specific auras, the rainbow auras. Are you saying that you're able to see that type of stuff? And you were talking about witches. I'm assuming you talk about Wicca. Your family then is like kind of relates to a lot of the Wiccan understanding about witchcraft and that kind of stuff, which we'll get into another stage at another time. But are you saying you're able to see the people's auras and you can kind of talk the language that heals that sort of vibrations from your aura or auric field, your electromagnetic field, if the scientists are listening? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, so with regards to witches, I just use it as a term with highly psychic and intuitive woman. I don't necessarily associate with the paganism of it, if it makes sense. So
Okay.
I just
Yeah.
I wanted to specify that. Yeah, so basically, yes, I can see through the construct. I can see the planetary grid and how the quantum realm operates. So how everything is in consistent movement. So I can see that, and I can see the auric and energy field of people as well. The light language will integrate beyond that. So the auric and energy field and all these etheric systems that you speak of actually operate in fourth dimensional density. So we in the 3D now, we're living in the 3D, but we obviously multidimensional. So we're operating on a lot of different levels. The ones you talk about operate on the 4D, and they are part of, the healing process. The codes are integrated in them, but the codes actually bypass those as well, and they integrate from a fifth dimensional density perspective, if it makes sense.
Wow. Sure. And you can see all of that.
I can, yes. Well, I tune in and out. I mean, I don't navigate my day-to-day life seeing in the quantum
S-
realm because it would be very complicated because nothing's static. Everything's moving all the time.
Yeah. So how do you see it? Do you see it as light? Do you see it as like you said, geometry, geometric figures? Is it like your triangles and squares and circles? And I mean, how are you actually seeing
Yeah, that's
that
a question.
interdimensional?
Is
Yeah.
it like psychedelics when when you take some psychedelics, you see those like
Yeah,
patterns?
a
Yeah,
Like,
little,
you like see, yeah, you see weird stuff. Yeah.
yeah, a little bit. It's like that. And then I'll actually
Yeah.
see grid. So I will see lines of energy that cross each other. So like that, basically. I don't know if
Okay.
any of you have seen the movie Lucy.
yeah, I did
No.
see it quite a while ago.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
so this is the best example I can give. When she starts controlling like the phones and radio signals and things like that, she starts seeing all these lines going up and around. So I'll see that. I'll see
Wow.
colors. I'll see the sacred geometry as well. But the geometry, it's all like icosahedrons, Merkabahs. It's very complex. Like some geometry, like I don't think it even has names, you know? And then sometimes I will see whole grid structures around individuals. So it will be like an individual with a whole structure like around them. Um, and I find there's a very big difference between what is nature, so the energetic structure and frequency of nature, and what is being man-made. So what would be a building, a car, or something like that. So those are different grids that I'm able to see and see through. But yeah, it's very, very complex. The psychedelics give you a little bit of a window on it, but there is still some level of distortion because when you're accessing through the psychedelics, the system's not very nicely grounded and anchored. So it's very like scattered and overwhelming, if it makes sense. It can be a lot more structured and it can look a lot more kind of like yeah, structured than what it would be in your psychedelics. Your psychedelics is a little bit, more all over the place.
Wow,
So
that's like, geez, so do you have to prepare yourself to get into that situation to set up? Because I'm assuming you've got to block yourself off. I mean, if you living your everyday life and you're going to have dinner or I don't know, you're going out to do something, you don't want to be seeing all this stuff all the time. So I'm assuming you have to put up a barrier to prevent that, or is it something that it's like, do you have to prepare yourself for it, or is it something that just it's like there and
Well, I can
kind of
just
you're always
tune,
seeing it?
yeah, I can just tune in and out. It's kind of like, yeah, this is the example they just sent me. It's if someone knows how to sing, they'll always know how to sing. They'll just start singing, sort of thing. They won't have to really prep themselves as much. I do some level of shielding. I've got a very big team of angelics and beings and, higher versions of self that navigate with me on a day-to-day basis. But yeah, generally, like when I'm working, I'll be tuned into those frequencies. And when I'm going out for dinner or, just enjoying my day-to-day life, I'll be quite human. And it's quite funny because when, I meet people and I say what I do, they're like, what are you seeing? What's in my field? And I'm like, I'm not working right now. I actually just want to have my dinner. So it's not like I'll meet someone and start tuning in and seeing what's happening in their field and what they're picking up and what blockages they have. I don't do that. It goes against also the sovereign law of free will. So I don't do that. But I can tune in and out very quickly. It doesn't, yeah.
Wow.
wow. So how did you figure out
So
that
you
you
must
could
have
do
had a
this?
hell of an interesting life. Sorry, well, what's that?
I was saying, how did you find out that you are able to do this?
Well, it kind of found me. I didn't
At
really
what age?
I didn't really have a choice. So I mean, seeing beings, and I mean, I got my first tarot deck at 12, so I started quite young, dabbling in these things. And then as I started to get a little bit older, I now understand that I started to kind of like, like drink alcohol and numb myself because I was so psychically open and I was picking up so much from everyone and I didn't understand it. I just wanted to kind of like not feel as much. So I went into a little bit of like a party cycle in my early 20s. And then when I kind of like cleared my system of that, when I was like around 27, just before my Saturn return, that's when I started downloading and everything just started like opening up exponentially. And I had about 6 to 8 months around that age where it was very difficult because all of this started opening up at the same time. Like I was seeing like blue flames in my room and portals and like alien beings coming and going, and I would be driving and all of a sudden the quantum realm like dissipates and I'm in space and then I'm back here and then I'm like trying to drive my car and get to it was very overwhelming. So for a few months like I thought I was going crazy, and at the time like there weren't a lot of people talking about the ascension and awakening process. I mean, if I looked online there were maybe like 10 light language channelers. Now there's like tens of thousands of them. And then, yeah, through trusting myself, trusting my channel, trusting my guides, I slowly got to a space where I could kind of like navigate and control. And I'm still learning, this is new territory for everyone who's living on Earth right now. So I'm kind of like, yeah, taking it day by day and learning through experience.
Well, and then your urge to suddenly do the light language, did it come to you like, did you get some kind of channel information, like to say like, or you were sitting there meditating or something, and then you just started speaking this language, or did a being approach you and say, you've got this gift, like, just this is how you do it, and then I mean, how did it start, like, with the language?
So I first started seeing code in my third eye and in vision, and then so I've always been quite artistic. I've always like drawn and painted and kind of like as a hobby or as I think you can see. So that's all channeled code. I can actually
Oh,
show you.
wow, that's pretty cool.
Oh,
That the
there.
painting you talk about.
Yeah. So this is when they first started coming through. So this is all hand drawn with like no rulers or anything.
No rulers,
No,
Wow.
this is
really?
all hand drawn. Yeah, I
Wow.
don't use any.
Okay.
Geez.
I
Well,
don't.
that's for people that are listening to that. That's very geometric.
Yeah. Um,
Yeah. Wow.
and
Okay.
so I started seeing things like that. I started seeing things like that in my third eye, and I would be like, okay, but how am I supposed to like put this on paper? And they were like, no, no, you just, and then I just started drawing, and then the writing started coming through. So it was about, I think, between 3 to 4 months of just like the channel flowing and writing, and then my throat chakra started activating, and then I started speaking the light language as well. And it started coming through in that way while I was, in fact, in meditation. But I pulled it like I knew that it had to come through. I had like one colleague and a friend of mine who was already channeling, so I knew what it was, and I did a little bit of, I saw online that there were a few people that were doing it already. It was a very new thing at the time. This is like 2017. But I knew that, yeah, it had to be part of me, and it had to be part of my gift and offering, to humanity and to the collective.
Wow, and then also I see you do a lot of like healing work, and that's like what is your healing work that you're doing besides the light language? What modalities or
Yeah, so I mean, it really depends. I just help people become a better version of themselves. I train people to do what I do as well. So I do 6 week, 6 month program. I train them to do energy healing. I train people to open up their channel to become psychic and to then use that in whatever way is optimal for their experience and their soul mission. And then yeah, it really, again, it really depends. I help people start their own spiritual businesses, to people who maybe might be struggling with the energetics behind abundance and manifestation. So I do manifestation programs as well, and just explain to people the energetics behind that. I help people open up the third eye and their psychic senses. I'm holding a masterclass on channeling now in April. I'm going to be doing a retreat in Bali in September. I just ran one in Costa Rica in November just now, where again, I train people and I expand their systems. And then I'm going to be doing a training in LA in October as well, more towards the end of the year. So I work very organically. My work is very dynamic. So I kind of like, this is what I always say, like, I don't do anything. I just listen. They tell me what to do, I listen, and then what comes through, I offer it to the collective.
You must be a
oh,
hell of a busy.
I am. Yes.
Wow. Okay. Yeah,
So
because I
I,
mean, look, we've chatted a lot of people. I mean, there's a guy out in Bali now that we've done 2 podcasts with, David Verdesi, and he's also Italian actually, believe it or not, and he's been doing sort of podcasts to find the superhuman. That was one of the documentaries that he's done, and he's going on. We were going on about the Kundalini experiences and the things that he kind of experienced. And I mean, you're going to Bali, maybe you should actually hook up with them. But it's actually quite fascinating to see the otherworldly things that happen in our world that people don't really understand and don't realize that there's this other barrier, or not a barrier, but there's this other realm that people can actually interact with, and it's by normies standards, it's a non, you know what I mean? It doesn't happen. It's like, ugh, whatever, they carry on with their normal lives. But I think this is why it's very interesting and why it's very prominent that we need to be doing these podcasts to show people, listen, there's something else out there. Realize that's, you know what I mean? Life is not just you get up, you go to work, you have breakfast, go to work, come home, have dinner, and that's it. So there's something else out there, and I think it's actually very interesting to hear what you're doing. I mean, I didn't know anything about light language. I didn't know anything about your life until you've actually explained it to me. And it's fascinating for what you are doing, and how everything unlocked is still kind of a mystery to you, but it's just absolutely, I mean, I'll be honest, Will, from the guests that we've had, and we've had a lot of guys like Dick Algar and the guys from remote viewing. Your life is actually probably one of the most interesting that we've had on this channel. And the
Thank-
things that you do is actually pretty cool.
Yeah, I feel
And how
like
much does it cost for your courses? I mean, if you wanted to say you want to unlock your third eye, what does it cost for those type of things?
well,
In
so for
rands,
me,
not dollars.
well, I work in dollars.
Yeah.
I work in dollars, so even my rand rates are par to the dollars. So I like to be accessible to everyone. So I have guided meditations for $12, and then I've got channeling courses for up to $3,000 to $4,000. So it really depends to what depth you want to go into. So like my 6-week, 6-month ascension program is $2,400. My LA training is $3,500, but then I'll have like just one energy work session will be maybe $180 to $300. And then again, I'll have my meditations for like $15, and that's like recorded ones. So it really depends. I've got workshops. I've got about 25, maybe 30 different workshops online that range from $44 to $150. And that's generally between an hour to an hour and a half. And it's a recorded workshop. So that's a nice alternative. Obviously, like the more you connect, the more skill, the more you teach, the more in depth you want, then the price rises. But again, as I said, I like to be affordable to everyone.
Okay.
Oh.
Now let's talk about entities. Sorry, Will, I know you want to answer any of that, but let's talk about entities. So you were talking about angelic entities, and you were almost, I see on your arm there, on your right arm, that you've got an alien gray.
So I wanted to ask that. Yeah.
Yeah. So
Spaceship as well.
okay. So do you communicate with them at all? Is it because we're very fascinated with, especially with the Strange Mysterious World podcast we have, with the alien kind of interaction. We've had a lady that's done, and we actually got her coming on next week, that's going to be doing a channeling from one of the alien entities that we've spoken to before. So do you actually do you speak to them, to the alien entities? Or what's the difference between the alien entities and the angelic beings that you talk to? Is there a distinction, or they're kind of almost the same thing?
Well, they operate on different dimensional densities. So my light language is very galactic. So I channel from a 9th dimensional Pleiadian version of myself and a 12th dimensional mantis being version of myself. So I'm in contact with a lot of different alien beings based on who I have in front, that my clients that come to me, I will work with their team, their alien beings as well. I channel a lot of Arcturian technology. I work a lot with Lyran beings. So it really depends. But yeah, I am in contact with a lot of different beings, and my work is divinely guided by higher versions of myself that operate in different dimensional densities and exist as what we would define alien beings.
Okay.
Do you think there's a disclosure coming, or
That's I was going to ask that. I was going to ask that
Oh,
question.
it's just really been happening on an individual level. Like, look at me, look at us, we all here speaking about ET beings. So there is disclosure happening on that level. I don't think there'll be full disclosure, at least before 2026, maybe mid 2026. But I do think that the way we are going, like, we're definitely going to see it, like, within the next five years. Yeah.
oh,
Okay.
that's cool.
I think
So, and with
when that happens, it's
Project
going to be a
Blue,
very, sorry, Will. When that
sorry.
happens, it's going to be a very different world because all of a sudden, kind of, I think what we understand and we know, I think they've always been there, but and it's not really going to be much of a difference in our life. But for majority of the people, which is 80% of the population, they've never seen it, don't really think about it, and when these things kind of happen, it becomes like, oh wow, there's a bit of panic, there's a bit of, you know what I mean, uncertainty that happens in the world. But I think give it 6 months, everything's back to normal, and you kind of carry on with your life. But I think it's going to be a very interesting time when that happens, and maybe you can maybe correlate to what I'm saying.
So what
It's going to be it's going to be something good that's going to be happening to this world because we need it. We're in a shit spot.
Yeah, so what I was told is that there needs to be a certain percentage of humanity that within their heart center fully believes from a space of compassion that ET beings are part of us and they're present and they're around and that won't respond with fear. So once that percentage is hit, then it's safe for the planet to have full disclosure because the frequency won't like imbalance itself too much. And it's not high, it's maybe like 10% or something like that. It's not like half of the population is it's quite like a low percentage. So that was what I was told because obviously, as you said, it's like a shock to some people into their system. And when a lot of people start operating from that space of fear, then that creates a ripple effect. So there needs to be an energetic baseline of stability that's already going on the planet within, that lesson and experience so that it doesn't disrupt too much.
Yeah,
Yeah,
awesome.
sure. And then what do you think about the narrative that's going around that like Project Bluebeam, which is a fake alien invasion, and that's what this whole disclosure thing is because the government is the American government's just trying to create a fake alien invasion like another 9/11. What do you think of that?
Yeah. I mean, I think everything has the power that you give it. I think, thoughts and intentions are really powerful. There is definitely something like that, which is part of the Dark Agenda program. We can all choose collectively to exist in a timeline where that's not the case. But like, we will know, like, people who are awake, like, they'll know if it's the government, like, they'll know if it's the low vibrational frequency narrative that's coming. You'll feel it. So I personally, like, I don't really have any fear when it comes to these things. I'm not, and I get told very specifically to stay out of any like polarizing political and diversifying agenda because of the channel that I carry and the frequency that I carry. I need to try and operate from a neutral space. But it's definitely like an option. It's definitely something that's happening, that could be happening, But I think, yeah, it's important not to give into the fear narrative. And then if it happens, we have all the tools within us to navigate it, like we did when the pandemic happened. We have the tools to navigate that, and look where we are now.
Okay.
Hmm. And with the frequency of the Earth now, I mean, is there like a major shift that's happening? I mean, like we all talking about going to the fifth dimension and stuff like that, like because just judging by history, our consciousness is changing all the time. I mean, we had slavery 100 years ago. I mean, that's just like one, like two people ago, and so I mean that's come like quite a long way. So it just seems like it is this constant like our consciousness is always shifting, it's always changing. But is it really like this big, like huge shift everyone's talking about right now?
Well, right now we're in the space of clearing ancient Atlantean karma. What does this mean? This means that we are going to be moving into a space where we need to learn to merge and integrate technology in a way that is healthy and productive. The evolutionary process can't be stopped, like we know, I mean, there's cycles we've been evolving for eons, and so right now humanity is clearing old ancient Atlantean karma. So what happened in ancient Atlantis? The technology took over. We weren't able to operate and function from this compassionate heart space, and then there was the fall and the disruption and the pain and the massacre and the killing and all of that. We now are moving into a space where we need to learn to integrate it in a healthy way in order to move past that space of the evolutionary process and work together, because I mean, if you look at ET beings, like their technology is super evolved, but it works for them. They don't work for it. So this is kind of where we are now in the evolutionary process. And I think on an individual level, it's just important that people stay grounded, they stay focused in their heart center. And you really don't have to do much to start operating from fifth dimensional density within your template and field. Just be a nice human, be a kind person, and you are already going to be on the right track.
Now, let me ask you about technology-wise now. So you kind of mentioned that, and I know we're heading off into this whole AI realm. AI is becoming quite a major part of our lives. And then obviously you've got Elon Musk's Neuralink, where he wants to kind of make us almost like the Borg in Star Trek. I don't know if you've ever seen that, but where you're kind of half machine and half human. So, I mean, what do you think of that? Do you think we should be integrating mechanical and machinery onto the human being, where now all of a sudden, where you weren't able to walk, you can now walk. You don't have an arm, you can now, you now have got some sort of mechanical. Do you think it's a good thing, or do you think we should be kind of sticking to the human roots and kind of work that way around?
I think that all I can say with regards to him is that he doesn't work for the dark agenda, he works for his own agenda. Whether that's going in a positive direction or not, I think only time will tell. I do believe that there needs to be a recalibration of going back into our own roots. However, if we all of a sudden stop using technology and go and live in the forest, that's counterproductive to the evolution of the human species. So again, we need to find this balance with healthy integration. So how that's going to look, I don't know. I wish I did.
Yeah, because I mean, there's some good stuff. I mean, you're like people that have never been able to see can all of a sudden, with all the neurotechnology that they're coming up with, they can input chips and they can now see or smell or taste, which I think is fantastic. I think for the human experience, I think it's a healthy thing. But in the same thing, there's always that fear of, if they can connect you via some sort of chip in your brain for some sort of thing, they can put you onto a almost like a site where you now become part of a collective, where they say you will do something and it kind of transfers back to you, and now all of a sudden you become a puppet of whatever's been controlling you. So that's a fear, I think, that human beings have.
So the human body is a perfect machine and template. So then my question is, why couldn't the person see in the first place? If he chose to come on earth not seeing, then that's his karmic lesson that he needs to live through. So then, where does that stand on, free will and sovereignty and, making the decisions, within your experience? So I think we need to focus on learning how to heal ourselves with everything that we already have, because it's possible, it can be done. If this can help us get there, great, wonderful. If it's a substitute for that, then, no, it's not working for us. That's how I see it.
Because also with that chip thing that they're talking about, like, you can access like the, we've created the hive mind already, but we can't access it through our brain. We've got to access it through our thumbs and our fingers on the computer. But then you hear all of these yogis and stuff like saying like, no, well, they did 30 years of meditation and they got all the answers. They tapped into like something even bigger than the internet, like cosmic information. So it's kind of like you can do it naturally. I mean, but if you don't want to sit in a cave for 30 years.
Well,
no, I don't think they want to
stick that thing in your head.
I train people to do that, to access the infinite the infinite abyss of knowledge.
Okay, so see, that's what I'm saying. So like we don't actually need these chips. You can do it naturally, you know? So
And you
Yeah,
don't
but that must
you
take
don't
30
need
years.
And you don't need to know. So guys, I studied in India with the Sadhus in 2022. So I've been there. I've seen what they do. Great, wonderful. It worked 3,000 years ago. We've evolved. We don't need to sit on top of a cave or inside a cave for 30 years and meditate to access these high vibrational frequency spaces of knowledge. No. Give me 6 months, I'll train you, and then you can access it as well. Like this is like a bit of a myth. And the Hindu methodologies, it works. It does. It's great, but we've evolved past that now. What worked 3,000 years ago is not necessarily the best method to apply now because humanity is not where it was 3,000 years ago. So they can sit in their meditation cave for 20 years and access it. There's ways to do that quicker.
wow.
Okay.
And with the DMT craze now and the psychedelic craze, is that do you think that helps or is that
Yeah.
detrimental?
Psychedelics, so this is how it works. Like psychedelics, especially psilocybin and the mycelium structures, they can really be helpful for people who have very, very intense blockages and traumas that they cannot get past, and they need to go through very extreme and big ego deaths. That's not for everyone, but for some people, the medicine is really, really powerful. But again, like everything, it needs to be used in moderation with someone who knows what they're doing, and not just, casually. And there needs to be respect for the plant and the medicine that is being used. So I think it's a great tool. Do I think it's being abused to some extent? Yes, especially in Westernized society.
Okay, then any of your training that you do with your clients, that I'm assuming there's none of that stuff involved.
No, I don't use any
Okay.
any external substance.
Okay.
Sorry, I'm just
fine.
worried about your time because you said you got a certain amount of time. So are
That's
we
okay. I can
on
say
track?
there's a few
Do we
more
do the
questions.
language now?
Yeah, you can. I mean, if you've got 1 or 2 more questions, I'm happy to answer, and then I'll do some light language, of course.
Yeah, well, nothing that I can think of hand. I think you've answered everything very, very well. I must be honest.
Okay.
Yeah. There's been no
Yeah.
humming and hawing. You've gone straight to the straight to the point straight away. That's actually fantastic. A lot of people is like hold on, let me think about that.
You know,
Oh,
I
so-
just got one question. It's like, I mean, I've been doing C5 for not quite a while. I could do like on and off. I do like, maybe one day, then I go on for like 5 days, and I do like
What's that? Sorry.
C5, like
That's
where you do
the
the meditation to try and call
the
UFOs or
extraterrestrials.
Okay.
it's like I don't know. It's Stephen Greer made it popular, but it's like a lot of these experiences that have seen orbs and craft and stuff like that. They sit in this meditation, and you basically just open your heart up and you ask to see something. But there's various ways of doing it, but it's all basically the same thing. I mean, do you know anything? I mean, like if you wanted to connect, what I'm trying to say is like if we wanted to connect with a being or like a craft or like something galactic, like what is the best way to do that?
Well, there's a lot of different ways. The first and foremost important thing is to release attachment to wanting it, because then it comes from a space of lack and you actually anchor into a vibrational frequency where you're pushing it away. So when we really want something, it comes, from a space of lack within it. So releasing the attachment and, okay, wanting it, like having the desire, but also being okay if it doesn't happen. And that's when it will happen. The clarity of your channel is directly proportionate to the depths to which you've met yourself. So if there's still like mistrust, if you're not trusting yourself, if you're not in a space of self-love, there's certain things within your system that need to be aligned. And also remember, like your system needs to be ready for a certain type of experience. And again, like I mean, sitting in meditation, clearing your mind is a really good one, but I find that the astral space is the best. So before going to sleep, setting the intention that you want your guides to come through or you want a message to come through. Because, when we access, the sleeping state and those states, the conscious mind takes a back step. So we're a lot more open. So that would be like a good place. And then working with being structured, working with structure, creates spiritual strength. So waking up, meditating, calling in your guides, like actually speaking to them. Doing exercises for your third eye if you want to see visualizations are really good. And then I'll just this is a funny example because this came to me when you were talking. So for me, I've obviously been doing this for long, and this was like maybe around 2022, and I'd been channeling for a while, and I was accessing all these higher spaces and seeing these things and seeing these beings and seeing these grids, but like it had been so long since I had actually seen like a tangible UFO in the 3D. And I was like, for about like 6 months, I was like, okay, guys, I do all this work. Please, can you just send me a UFO? Like, I really want to see one. Please, can you send me one? Nothing, nothing, nothing. And then I think like, and then I just stopped asking. I was like, okay, whatever. And then I think like 2 months after that, as I stopped asking, I actually had a UFO being come outside. It must have been 20 meters from me. So it was a small gray ship, that was like zigzagging. And it was very, very clear. It was evening and it was on top of the valley. And I saw it and I called my partner at the time and I said to him, come and have a look. And he was also like, whoa, like that's insane, because we could see it very clearly how it was zigzagging. And then I tuned in like after I saw it and I said to them, and they said, yeah, they said, we sent it to you, but you had to release the attachment to wanting to see it. And once you did that and you didn't really care, then we sent it through to you. So have the desire, but don't come at it from a space of
Don't
attachment.
expect it.
Yeah, don't expect
Don't
it.
expect it. Okay.
Great.
Good advice.
Okay.
What is your I'm going to cut it. I'll cut it here. I just want to know. I want to know. So for because I'll bring it in again after this. What is your knowledge on Atlantis? Because I heard you mentioning a little bit earlier, and we kind of did a podcast some time back with regards to Edgar Casey and his Atlantean, kind of what he was seeing in his mind and things that came through. So what is your knowledge of Atlantis? The reason why I ask, I'd like to bring you back some other time and we can kind of talk a whole kind of podcast about that. So I don't know. What is your knowledge on Atlantis?
Yeah. So I started getting my first recollection of ancient Atlantis back in 2020. I had a lot of lifetimes there and in Lemuria as well. I was actually a high priestess who was working there, I had a few different lifetimes. One, I was a high priestess. In one, I was working with like these crystal technologies. In one, I literally just have the memory of like dying, and seeing these machines come down and like burn everything. So I have a lot of different, and my knowledge of Atlantis is from channeled memories and dreams and experiences, and I've drawn a few of them as well. If you go like on my Instagram, you can see there's a few drawings of that too. So yeah, and then I had a few experiences of lifetimes in Lemuria too. That was very, very different from Atlantis, but I actually lived in both. But again, I don't really do much external research unless I get told to, because I have my own channel and it's actually can be detrimental. It can be a little bit confusing because there's so much information out there. So what I say is what I've channeled and what has come through my own experience. Yeah.
Okay. Awesome. Yeah.
Great.
That'll be interesting. That'll be very interesting to talk about that.
Yeah, of course.
But okay, cool. So
So
yeah,
shall
light
we do
language.
some light language?
Of course, yeah. You can close your eyes and start anchoring into the body as you find your comfortable breathing rhythm. With every inhale, you breathe in light. And with every exhale, you release all that doesn't serve you anymore. As you relax body, system, and energy field, you stay in a space of openness and oneness. And as we call on the Archangelic Collective, Michael to the south, Uriel to the north, Raphael to the east, Gabriel to the west, we call on Archangel Metatron with his blue cloak of protection from above and Sandalphon to seal the grid from below. As we call on our higher selves, our spirit guides, we call on our galactic families, Pleiadians, Lyrians, Sirians, Arcturians, Andromedans, Mantis beings, Pleiadians, Dragons, Assassines, Lemurians and Atlanteans, and whoever else wishes to be present for the greatest and highest good, you're welcome in the space at this moment in time. Opening systems, opening. Opening systems, clearing, releasing. Releasing, releasing, letting go, letting go, letting go, letting go, letting go, letting go, expanding, expanding, expanding into more light, divine rays coming in, anchoring, 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 anchoring into systems, upgrading blueprint structures. Tuning, 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 tuning. Attuning more light, divine rays, anchoring, 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 anchoring. Ratatishe to kokokakakaya treo ora se ora tikia tarea tra tre koro ishena yatra. Shukra se toro kotrea trea tra grounding, 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 anchoring, anchoring, anchoring. Anchoring, calling in angelic rays, aurora rays, grounding, 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 anchoring, grounding, anchoring, expanding, 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 more light, more light, more light coming in. Rainbow rays, anchoring, 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 platinum white light rays, anchoring, 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 expanding, 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 clean, releasing, 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 letting go, letting go, letting go, letting go, letting go, letting go. Rashira to kurokut krat ray sit kanati kumrat kumaretra. Nak ora ishira yetro to ta 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 ta. Taro to kora trea seta kara ishena ya yo nashet kora ishetaka. Treata krikt nra tre osiet korokia ishet kara ishera yatra. Tre to kumrase orok ora ishera yatre se grounding 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 yo na tuning 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 activating 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 more light divine rays coming in anchoring 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 expanding expanding yo rayo tokoro tre tre traya set ora ishera yatra shkuru area tre ashe yo korokot krase yara tre umrase korok ora ishera trate yo etata shera takra shkuru ora ishera grounding grounding anchoring 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 the tuning grounding grounding anchoring the tuning tuning closing ceiling ceiling closing ceiling closing 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 clean peripheral clean releasing 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 releasing, releasing, releasing more light, anchoring, 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 balancing, balancing, grounding, 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 balancing, grounding, balancing, 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 tarai shirayatra, Lokurayatre na, tototototototai shirayatre, shenokukua shirayatra, shukuruaya shiratra, kuroko ishinayatra, ishe sheokuroko ishinayatra. Shukruai ishena na kurokuna yasie siro kuroko ishena yatara ishena kuroko ishena yatara. Shukuruku ishena yatara ishena yatara ishena kuku ishoro kuro ishena yatara. Shukruai ishena yatara ishena yatara ishena yatara ishena yatara. Shukuru ishena yatara ishena yataka ishena yataka. As you gently come back to the body and anchor back into the physical vessel. Coming back to the now and the present moment. And you can choose to stay in process. Or whenever you feel ready, open your eyes and come back to the now.
Well, I can tell you what, I can tell you three things. First thing, my nose is tingling from the beginning, like constantly just tingling. Then I've got this massive headache. I don't know. It's just like can't even explain. It's almost like a migraine. It's gone now, but it was like a massive, massive headache. And then I started feeling nauseous in the stomach, but it's kind of passed. But sure.
Yeah, you were clear.
Okay.
So the body was processing and clearing, yeah.
Oh, I
You
just
will?
felt very, very relaxed. And also when you started doing this, like those like when you were going like da-da-da-da-da-da-da, like that, it would like really like uplift me.
Yeah, so generally
just
what I'll do when I do these collective clearings, I'll go in, I'll open the system, I'll clear and release and remove what isn't needed. And then I'll make sure the energies are balanced, grounded, upgraded. I'll clear peripheral and then I'll close it all back up. But you'll be processing, clearing, and releasing for a few days, up to 3 weeks for integration of everything. You might feel like you need to eat more, sleep more, rest more. You might feel like you need to be alone and be away from people, or you might feel like you want to be around people. The sleep might be a little bit different. Just know that the body is moving through shifts. So, you know, hydrate and drink lots of water is really important.
Okay.
wow.
Now let me ask you,
Great.
the light language that you did now, is there a meaning or like a translation, or do you know it, or is it just something that comes through to you as like a natural thing? So like I know when you talk in the different language, it almost sounds like a mixture of like almost like Vulcan slash Klingon slash I don't, when you're listening, when you're watching Star Trek, you've got the guys that are talking. So is there like a meaning that you understand, or is it just
Is it just vibrations that shift the energy around you, or is there actually like a
like a meaning to the
translation?
language?
Yeah,
Yeah.
well, it can't be translated verbatim because it doesn't work like a human English or like language would work in our sense, but it can have like certain frequencies carry certain meanings, and you can set the intention beforehand of the light language to come through and do something specific for you, but it is in the frequency of it, almost like in the phonetics of it, that then the vibration will work, on the system where it's needed. But I've never seen Star Trek, so I don't know those languages that you were talking about.
Yeah, but that's what I kind of picked up when you were doing it. I felt like, okay, well, those are kind of frequencies or the vibrations that are doing something to my vibration around me. That's like it's
Okay.
influencing it. Like
Makes
semantics,
sense.
when you see like that plate where you put the sand on, and then you put that frequency in it that makes the patterns. Have you
Okay,
seen
yeah,
that?
Yeah.
It
yeah,
makes the patterns in the sand. So that like your like that vibration coming out of your mouth was doing the same thing around me. So yeah.
yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Cool. That makes cool. That makes sense. Well,
Awesome.
lekker, man. Althea, thank you, man, so much for your time.
Yeah, thank you so
Chat.
much.
I hope you'll come back again sometime again. We can chat about some other stuff. But yeah, much appreciated for your time. And where can people find you? So if they wanted to do these courses and that, where are we able to, where can we find you?
Yeah, so like my website is my name, www.altealucrezia.com. I don't know if you can leave the links maybe
Okay.
below. And then
Yeah,
my Instagram is LIGHTCODES by ALA. So I've actually got two, but you can search that one, or even my name, Altea Lucrezia. You can find me on that too. And then my YouTube is also Altea Lucrezia. My TikTok is Light Codes by ALA official. So yeah, if you just leave the links, I mean, if you Google my name, I'll come up. Yeah. So it's ALTHEA and then Lucrezia, LUCREZIA. And then my website will come up.
okay, cool.
Okay.
But we'll put it all in
Fantastic.
the show notes. Yeah.
Thank
Yeah,
you.
100%. Yeah, thank you so much for your time, man. Much appreciated.
Yeah, thank you so much. It was so wonderful speaking to you, and I'm feeling great now after that light language. So thanks.
Thank you for
Cool.
having me.
Fantastic. Thanks, Althea.